From saving pennies to meeting Barron Trump, this boy's journey is a heartwarming reminder of the power of love and generosity. It's often the simplest moments that lead to the most extraordinary stories. For a young boy, a small act of love for his hardworking mom became the spark for an unexpected encounter, one that would forever change their lives. Mason, a quiet and determined 12-year-old, had been saving every penny he could find for months. His goal? To buy the perfect gift for his mom, a token of gratitude for all the sacrifices she had made to give him a better life. She worked tirelessly as a waitress and part-time cleaner, often coming home late and exhausted, but her love for Mason never wavered. That December afternoon, Mason arrived at the local gift shop, clutching a small bag of coins and crumpled bills. He had his heart set on a beautiful snow globe, one he'd seen his mom admire weeks earlier. But when he reached the counter, his excitement turned to heartbreak. The price had gone up, and he didn't have enough money. As he turned to leave, holding back tears, a calm voice stopped him in his tracks. "Let me help you with that," the voice said. Mason looked up, and to his surprise, standing before him was Barron Trump. Mason's life wasn't easy, but it was filled with love. His mom, Claire, was his rock, the person who made sure their tiny one-bedroom apartment felt warm and welcoming, even when money was tight. Claire had raised Mason on her own since he was a toddler, working long hours as a waitress and cleaning offices at night to make ends meet. Despite her exhaustion, she always managed to greet Mason with a smile, sitting with him after school to help with homework or share stories about her day. Claire never let Mason feel the weight of their struggles, but Mason noticed the little things. He saw how she patched up his old sneakers instead of buying new ones. He heard her sigh late at night as she balanced the bills. And he remembered the way her eyes lit up when they'd walked past a gift shop weeks ago. She had paused in front of a snow globe, one with a cozy winter village scene, and admired it for just a moment before moving on, saying, "Maybe someday." That moment stuck with Mason. To him, the snow globe wasn't just a gift. It was a way to bring his mom a piece of the joy she so often gave him. For months, he saved every penny he found, picking up spare change from the couch cushions, doing small chores for neighbors, and even skipping a treat at the corner store to save for his mom's present. By the time Christmas was near, he had scraped together $18.36, enough to match the price he'd memorized on the snow globe's tag. On that chilly December afternoon, Mason made his way to the shop, his heart racing with excitement. His mom would never expect this, and he couldn't wait to see her smile. He walked up to the counter, clutching the snow globe carefully, and placed his money down. "For my mom," he said softly. But the cashier's expression quickly changed. "I'm sorry, kid," the cashier said, shaking his head. "The price went up. It's $22 now." Mason froze, the joy draining from his face. He emptied his pockets, counting every last coin, but it still wasn't enough. As he turned to leave, defeated, a voice spoke from behind him. "How about I take care of that?" Mason turned to see a tall, composed young man with striking features. It was Barron Trump, and this moment was only the beginning. Mason turned, startled, to see the young man who had spoken. Barron Trump stood there, tall and confident, his expression calm yet kind. Dressed casually but impeccably, Barron carried himself with an air of quiet authority that Mason couldn't quite place. For a moment, Mason didn't know how to respond. He clutched the snow globe tightly, unsure if the man's offer was genuine. "You're getting this for your mom, aren't you?" Barron asked, his voice soft but steady. Mason nodded shyly, his cheeks burning with embarrassment. "I've been saving up, but I don't have enough," he admitted, lowering his gaze. Barron smiled. "Moms are special. Let me help you." Before Mason could protest, Barron pulled out his wallet and handed a crisp bill to the cashier. "Cover the difference," he said firmly. The cashier, still stunned by the scene unfolding, quickly processed the transaction. Mason stared at Barron, his heart pounding. I don't know how to thank you," he stammered. Barron crouched slightly to meet Mason's eye level. "No need to thank me," he said with a smile. "Just promise me one thing. Make sure your mom knows how much you love her. This gift is as much about that as it is about what's inside." Mason nodded vigorously. "I will," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. He carefully took the snow globe from the cashier, clutching it like it was the most precious thing in the world. For a moment, he thought this was the end of the encounter. But Barron wasn't done. "Tell me about your mom," Barron said as they moved aside to let other customers check out. Mason hesitated at first, unsure if Barron really wanted to hear his story, but something in Barron's demeanor, a mix of genuine interest and warmth, encouraged Mason to speak. "She's the best," Mason began, his voice growing steadier. "She works really hard. 2 jobs. She doesn't buy things for herself, but she always makes sure I have what I need. I just wanted to get her something nice for Christmas, something she'd never expect." Barron listened intently, nodding occasionally. "She sounds amazing," he said. "What's her name?" "Claire," Mason replied, a hint of pride in his voice. Barron smiled. "Well, Claire is lucky to have a son like you." He glanced at the snow globe. "And I think she's going to love this." As Mason prepared to thank Barron again and leave, Barron paused thoughtfully. "You know," he said, "I think I'd like to help a little more. Moms like yours don't get enough recognition for what they do." Mason looked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" Barron grinned, his calm composure unwavering. "You'll see," he said cryptically, "but I need a little more time. Do me a favor. Tell your mom to keep her afternoon free tomorrow." Before Mason could ask more, Barron gently patted his shoulder. "You're doing a great thing, Mason. And trust me, this is going to be a Christmas your mom will never forget." Mason returned home that evening, clutching the snow globe like a precious treasure. His mind was racing, not just with excitement about giving the gift to his mom, but also with curiosity about Barron Trump's cryptic promise. He placed the snow globe carefully under their tiny, well-loved Christmas tree and waited for his mom, Claire, to come home from her evening job. When Claire finally walked through the door, exhausted but smiling, Mason rushed to greet her. "Mom, I have something special for you," he said, unable to contain his excitement. He handed her the snow globe, his face glowing with pride. Claire's eyes widened as she gently turned the delicate object in her hands, watching the glitter swirl around the cozy winter scene. "Mason, how did you—" she began, her voice breaking with emotion. She knew how much effort it must have taken for him to save up for something so thoughtful. Mason grinned. "I had a little help," he said mysteriously. "And Mom, you need to keep tomorrow afternoon free. Someone special is coming." Claire looked at him with confusion. "What do you mean? Who's coming?" Mason only smiled and shook his head. "You'll see." The next day, the hours seemed to drag for Mason as he waited anxiously. Claire, still puzzled, spent the morning tidying their small apartment, brushing off Mason's insistence that it didn't matter. At exactly 2 p.m., there was a knock at the door. Mason's heart leaped as he ran to open it. Standing there was Barron Trump, dressed sharply in a tailored coat, holding a bouquet of white lilies in one hand and a large envelope in the other. Behind him stood a discreet assistant, carrying a box wrapped in elegant paper. Claire froze in the doorway, her eyes widening in disbelief. "You must be Claire," Barron said warmly, stepping inside. "It's a pleasure to meet you. Mason's told me so much about you." Claire's voice caught in her throat as she tried to process what was happening. I don't understand," she managed to say, her cheeks flushing. Barron handed her the lilies and the envelope. "Mason told me how much you mean to him and how hard you work to give him a good life," he began. "I wanted to do something to make your Christmas a little brighter." Claire opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a letter detailing a full scholarship to a local community college's teaching program, covering tuition, books, and even childcare. Claire gasped, her eyes welling with tears. This can't be real," she whispered, looking up at Barron. "It's real," Barron assured her with a smile. "Mason mentioned that you always dreamed of becoming a teacher. This is your chance." Claire's legs nearly gave out as she clutched the letter to her chest. "I don't even know how to thank you," she said, tears streaming down her face. Barron shook his head. "No need to thank me. Your son is the real hero here. He loves you so much it was impossible not to want to help." Claire stood frozen in the small living room, her emotions overwhelming her as she clutched the letter. She looked down at Mason, whose face was glowing with pride. "You knew about this?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mason nodded. "Barron wanted it to be a surprise, Mom. He said you deserved it." And Claire turned back to Barron, shaking her head in disbelief. This is too much. I don't even know if I can do it. You can, Barron said firmly, his tone reassuring. You've been doing the impossible for years, raising an incredible kid and giving him everything you have. Now it's time for someone to help you chase your dream. You deserve this. As Claire wiped her tears, Barron motioned to his assistant, who handed over the elegantly wrapped box. This is for you, too, Barron said, smiling. Every teacher needs the right tools. Claire carefully unwrapped the box to reveal a brand new laptop and a stack of books, each one carefully selected for a teaching program. She gasped, overwhelmed by the thoughtful gesture. Mason clung to her side, his own eyes shining with tears. You're going to be the best teacher ever, Mom, he said. Claire dropped to her knees, pulling Mason into a tight hug. I don't know how I got so lucky to have you, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Looking up at Barron, she added, and I don't know how to thank you for this. You've changed everything for us. Barron smiled warmly. You don't need to thank me. Just promise me you'll believe in yourself as much as Mason believes in you. That's all I ask. For the next hour, Barron sat at their modest kitchen table, chatting with Claire and Mason like an old friend. They talked about dreams, struggles, and the importance of helping others. Claire felt an unexpected sense of calm, as if a weight she hadn't even realized she was carrying had been lifted. When Barron finally stood to leave, he shook Mason's hand firmly. Take care of your mom, he said. She's one of a kind. Mason nodded, his chest swelling with pride. Barron turned to Claire one last time. You've got this, he said softly, before stepping out the door and disappearing down the hallway. Life often surprises us with moments that test our character and remind us of the power of kindness. For Claire and Mason, one extraordinary encounter transformed not just their Christmas, but their entire outlook on life. What started as a young boy's heartfelt effort to brighten his mom's day turned into an opportunity for hope, change, and a future filled with possibilities. Claire learned that it's never too late to pursue a dream, especially when someone believes in you. For Mason, the experience solidified the importance of love, determination, and the kindness of strangers. And for Barron Trump, his quiet generosity reminded us all of the profound impact we can have when we choose to lift others up. This story is more than just a Christmas miracle. It's a reminder that small acts of love and kindness can ripple into something far greater. It challenges us to look beyond appearances, to listen to the stories of those around us, and to offer help when it's needed most. If this story touched your heart, let it inspire you to make a difference in someone's life. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time, like and subscribe for more inspiring videos.